Yep, so there's one coming right behind you.
I'm going to sit next to Nikki. Yeah, I can. Okay. All right, I have 6 o'clock. We will call to order the regular city council meeting for Monday, January 12th, 2026. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jody, can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor King?
Here.
Councilwoman Niner?
Here.
Councilman Newberry?
Here.
Councilman Emo? Councilman Joomer?
Here.
Quorum being present, if council has had an opportunity to review the agenda as presented, are there any objections by council to the agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, that it's approved by unanimous consent. You all have had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Are there any objections to the consent agenda as presented? Hearing no objections, it is passed by unanimous consent. First item tonight will be a public hearing, Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District Boundary Amendment. So I need a motion to open a public hearing for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District Boundary Amendment.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District Boundary Amendment.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to open the public hearing. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner?
Yes.
Councilman Newberry?
Yes.
Councilman Joomer?
Yes.
All right, we are in a public hearing.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. I'll just give you a quick kind of explanation of this. So the initial application that was filed for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace CID inadvertently included the legal description of the entire 200-acre parcel when it should have just included the 20 acres where the actual Pleasant Hill Marketplace project is going to sit. So because of that, the property owner has followed the statutory requirements of asking the governing body to remove the remaining parcels of that, which will remain undeveloped at this time, from the Pleasant Hill Marketplace CID. And then that way it is reflective of the actual boundaries of the project.
Who initiated this?
The property owner. So it was actually done by JWW Investments.
Do we have staff have any concerns with the amendment since that was the original?
No, it's what it should be, because that's how it was originally set up.
All right. Council have any questions for staff on this? All right, this time I will open the public part of the hearing. If you'd like to address council in this public hearing, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. All right. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to close the public hearing. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Doomer.
Yes.
All right, public hearing is closed. This time, the floor is open for public comment. If anyone from the public would like to address council on anything not on the agenda, please step up to this podium, state your name and address for the record, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, please.
This is the regular public comment, right?
Yep.
John Self, 205 South Campbell. First, I'd like to say how nice it is to see such a surprising and sudden civic engagement by so many people. It's really nice to see all these people here tonight to see how things work. On 10/13/25, I pointed out that the city states that there is no tax dollar spent on the Cass County Fair. Yet multiple city staff talk about spending time on the fair during staff reports. Mayor King promised me that he would look into that and get me the total amount of time that was spent on that. That's been 90 days. I've not heard anything. Do I need to update my email address on file, or are we still waiting on that information?
I can tell you that the week leading into the fair, staff is actually engaged in the audit for the couple weeks up to that. I don't know that I can quantify that to you, to how much time, because like anything else, they may get an email and answer it during the day. We don't have a way to quantify that for you.
So we don't keep track of the staff time spent on the fair, but time is spent on the fair, so I feel it's unfair to state that tax dollars are not spent on the fair.
You know, it's like anything else they do in a day. They answer emails. They may answer it on Public Works. They may answer it on requests from the public for information.
But do they spend time planning the fair? Do they spend time recruiting vendors for the fair, recruiting events, organizing, all that stuff?
There is a large number of people who work on that outside of city staff. So a large portion of that is not city staff.
But do city staff do that in the course of their day?
They may answer an email, yes. It is a city event,
Okay.
like the UTV parade, like anything else we do, it is a city event. So yes, there are going to be times when staff do that.
Okay. And it's been a while since Boy Scouts. I don't remember my flag decorum appropriately, but I always thought the United States flag was supposed to stand a little higher than all the other flags, and that one does not. I'm just going to make a suggestion or request that we fix that. I find it disrespectful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, this time we will close public comment. We'll move on to the first item for consideration, which is the Pleasant Hill Community Garden Memorial Pavilion.
Thank you, Mayor. Previously at a meeting, we had a gentleman approach council during public comments where they would like to place a pavilion at the site of the Pleasant Hill Community Garden in memory of one of the longtime members, Felicity Finnerty. During that time, we instructed the group that we would need to get that information from them. We would place it on the agenda for consideration as done previously. They've so done that. So at this time, What you have before you is the picture of the simple structure that they would like to place on an existing concrete pad down at the community garden. Staff is neutral on this and sees no issues with the placement of the structure. We would like to work with that group or allow for some clarification as far as once it's constructed, are they expecting it as far as to become a city structure as others would be? Do we place it on our insurance? Are they going to cover that? What are their expectations of maintenance? Again, all very minor things that we can work out with them. But other than that, we don't see any issues with the placement of it in memory of the longtime community garden member. But it does take, if it's something you all would like to consider, it does take council approval as it does add a structure to city property.
Is there anyone here tonight from the community garden to address council?
Hi, Vera McCoy, 12406 Herring Road. And I just wanted to say one thing. Whenever I was talking, it's not someone said a permanent structure. Nothing's permanent. It's going to be bolted into the cement that we poured a couple of years ago. And as far as insurance and things like that, the community garden is owned by the city. We just volunteer and we pay money so that we can go out there and volunteer and do whatever we do. So, we're not going to cover the city structure. We're not going to cover it.
That is correct. I apologize. So it is our city property. So I apologize for that earlier statement.
So that's all we want. We just want some shade. There's no trees out there, and we think that's a perfect way to put a little memorial for Felicity. So, all right, thank you.
Does council have any questions for staff on this?
No, but I know I should know where this garden's at, or the address. I've been there before, but I can't place it
Right there at the intersection of Lexington and Myrtle Street, right
Oh,
below the pool.
okay.
There's a shed that's currently there, and they've got some art out there by it, and then the community garden that they operate.
Okay.
I'm going to ask the same question because I asked the historic about when the historic district built. Do we mow that? And so now we have to mow around the structure too.
No, because it will be placed on an existing concrete pad that's already there.
Already there.
Correct. So we already maintain that, as she stated, and I misstated earlier. It is a city program. It's through our parks department.
So it's a
So
great program. Right?
yes, so we already maintain. Obviously they maintain the garden, but we wouldn't have to mow around it. We're already mowing around the concrete pad that's already there.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Does anybody from the public would like to comment on this before council takes action? All right. Do I have a motion to approve the Pleasant Hill Community Garden Memorial Pavilion installation?
I will make a motion to approve the Pleasant Hill Community Garden Memorial Pavilion installation.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Jumer.
Yes.
Passes. Next item is Bill number 2601, a proposed ordinance amending the boundaries of the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Mayor. Bill number 26-01 is just the action item for City Council based on the same information from the public hearing. By ordinance, this would just amend those boundaries of the district that was noted earlier.
Has any new questions come up from council since we talked about it?
No.
Mayor, let me state, let me double check. I just want to make sure I have the accurate bill number. Oh, yeah, we do.
So do I have a motion on Bill number 26-01, a proposed ordinance amending the boundaries of the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District?
I'll make a motion to approve bill number 26-01, a proposed ordinance amending the boundaries of the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on Bill number 26-01, proposed ordinance amending the boundaries of the Pleasant Hill Marketplace Community Improvement District. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Dumer.
Yes.
Bill number 26-01 passes. Next item is bill number 26-02, a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the Comprehensive Development Incentives Agreement for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace in Pleasant Hill, Missouri.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, so bill number 26-02 is, we obviously have a development agreement in place for this, this development. And so to that, then the legal description needs to accurately reflect what is in the agreement. No other changes are reflected in the development agreement. It is just strictly the legal description that we just amended with the previous adoption of bill number 2601.
Are there any questions from council on bill 26-02?
No.
Do I have a motion on bill number 26-02, a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the Comprehensive Development Incentive Agreement for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace in Pleasant Hill, Missouri?
I'll make a motion for bill number 26-02, a proposed ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an amendment to the Comprehensive Development Incentives Agreement for the Pleasant Hill Marketplace in Pleasant Hill, Missouri.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve bill number 26-02. Can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Dumer.
Yes.
Bill number 26-02 passes. Next item is the use tax ballot initiative.
No, I don't have any. As I said, I'm going to come up here just because it's easier to read from a paper and to look than to kind of awkwardly, as I'm sitting in my thing, like talk out of the side of my mouth. We'll wait for the presentation to come up. And I'll talk loud. I'll try to talk right into this, but I do know that sometimes I can make my voice carry.
Remember when I texted you the other day and said it was time to tear the whole system
I
down,
know,
burn it
this is
down, and start
practice, it
over?
works. I'm not doing it.
Remember when I told you that?
Ago.
I did a text you the other day. It's time to burn the whole system down and start over.
And when we practice, it works.
There we go.
Oh, good.
Technology not at its finest.
Yeah, okay. So obviously at our last meeting, we had a work session to kind of go through, after at your all's request, what it does look like for a use tax. So this evening, Based on our council feedback from our previous work session, tonight I'm here to provide council with staff research information regarding the impact of a potential use tax could have on city operations should the council decide to place it on the ballot and should voters ultimately choose to approve it. This presentation is intended to be informational and to outline why a use tax could be considered, what it is, the level of revenue it could generate, and how that revenue could be used to support core city services. A use tax does not increase the local sales tax rate. It applies to taxable purchases where sales tax is not collected at the in-person point of sale, most commonly with online, catalog, or out-of-state purchases. The tax rate mirrors the existing local sales tax rate and simply ensures that purchases made outside but delivered within the city are taxed in the same way purchases made at local businesses. As a reminder from our work session, there are currently 306 municipalities with a voter-approved use tax. Additionally, the state of Missouri and Cass County are already collecting voter-approved use taxes at the same rate as their voter-approved sales tax. Based on staff analysis and information obtained from the county and the Missouri Department of Revenue, a use tax could generate approximately $626,000 per year for the city. This estimate reflects an ongoing annual revenue rather than a one-time funding source. That distinction is important because many of the challenges the city faces are not one-time capital expenses, but ongoing operational cost. Staff is focused on the uses of revenue that support basic services residents expect from their city. When the city went to the voters with Prop P in April of 2024, Initiative P4 was put forth the voters for this exact same message. Specifically, the estimated revenue could partially be used to help fund the increased operating and maintenance costs associated with our existing and improved parks to ensure that we can properly take care of the taxpayer asset. Despite it not passing in April of 2024, the needs still very much exist. Additionally, we feel it is vital to continue to address public safety. We would recommend adding one full-time police officer position and look at ways to use any additional funding that the use tax would generate to increase pay so that we remain competitive for retention and recruitment of personnel. These are not new or expanded services, but rather investments in maintaining service levels, protecting existing city assets, and supporting personnel needs. Long-term challenges. As the council will recall from a previous discussion, the city has invested approximately $11.5 million in new parks following the approval of Prop P in April of 2024. Recently, I described that investment as a short-term fix to a long-term problem that has existed for decades. The parks we just overhauled were once in pristine condition, meeting the needs of the community, but ultimately hit their life expectancy when maintenance funding was very limited for a number of years. While the new parks meet the important community needs, the ongoing cost to operate and maintain them is not fully supported by the existing revenues, and this information was provided during our Prop P educational sessions. The current park levy and existing voter-approved sales tax do not generate enough revenue on an annual basis to maintain our parks at an adequate level that residents demand. Without a sustainable funding source, the city will once again risk declining park conditions, reduced service levels with higher future repair or replacement costs. This is not a facilities issue. It has been and will continue to be an operations funding issue. Sustainable operations funding is critical to ensure the long life of taxpayer-funded assets. When we invest millions of taxpayer-trusted dollars in the parks, it is equally important that we invest in their care and maintenance year after year and program them in a manner to maximize their return on their investment. Doing so protects the original investment, reduces long-term costs, and meets the community expectation for clean, safe, and functional public spaces. In addition to parks, the proposed use tax revenue could support one additional full-time police officer position. As the community grows, we look for ways to bring more people to town through events, tourism, etc., and demands on services increase, maintaining adequate public safety and staffing is essential. This position would help sustain service levels that are consistently identified as a top priority. Additionally, located within the greater Kansas City metropolitan area, we must find ways to compete to retain staff and recruit qualified individuals when positions open up through competitive pay. Turnover can disrupt operations, and it is very costly to the taxpayers. While a high priority within our law enforcement department, this is also critically important throughout our organization. We have touched on that as we see minimum wage in Missouri continue to increase. We must find ways to adjust our pay scales to retain and recruit quality employees. After accounting for potential increases to personnel costs, staff estimates that approximately $331,000 per year in use tax revenue would remain. Staff identified two potential options for how council could consider using these remaining funds, both focused on long-term capital improvements and infrastructure needs. Option 1. The first option would be to dedicate the remaining amount of $331,000 annually towards the downtown infrastructure improvements. Under this option, the city could pursue approximately $4.5 million in downtown infrastructure projects financed through the 20-year COP. This number is based on a local city that just opened bids on a similar project. The estimated annual debt service for this financing structure is approximately $331,000. Which would align with the remaining use tax revenue after personnel costs. This option would allow the city to address downtown infrastructure needs in a comprehensive and strategic manner. As previously reported to council, staff has identified that the existing downtown streetlights are antiquated and have reached the end of their serviceable life. Following critical repairs earlier this year, we were advised that the internal light mechanisms are no longer fixable. Replacement parts are no longer available, and any future failure would require a full replacement rather than just repair. At this time, there is no dedicated funding source for infrastructure projects of this scale. Staff views the use tax as an opportunity to reinvest in the community by addressing long-standing infrastructure needs and continuing the community's vision for downtown. This investment would support the next phase of revitalization, enhancing the character of the downtown area as a quaint, historic, and attractive destination, a vision that has been evolving since the late 1980s. While significant progress has been made over the years, additional investment is necessary to remain competitive and to keep pace with surrounding communities that have continued to prioritize downtown infrastructure and revitalization. The second option would be to split the remaining $331,000 annually between multiple infrastructure priorities. Under this approach, a portion of the funding could be directed towards additional street overlay projects to help improve overall street conditions citywide. While street maintenance is and will always be a need, currently the street improvements do have dedicated revenues through an excise tax, the state motor vehicle sales tax, the state gasoline tax, and a half-cent transportation sales tax, as well as the county road and bridge share. In the current budget year, $635,000 was allocated for major street improvements. Under this option, a remaining portion could be used to establish a dedicated curbing and sidewalk replacement program, allowing the city to systematically address aging and deficient infrastructure over time. The next slide shows context to what the number of feet equates to. This option provides some flexibility and allows the city to make consistent incremental progress across infrastructure needs rather than focusing on a single large project. In closing, staff is presenting the use tax as one potential tool to address ongoing funding needs for core city services. The key questions for council are whether you wish to pursue a use tax ballot measure, how you would like the revenues to be communicated and possibly dedicated for transparency to voters, and what direction you would like the staff to take regarding the next steps. Ultimately, this is about aligning ongoing revenues with ongoing cost, protecting taxpayer investments, and improving the community and maintaining the level of service our residents expect from their city. Staff is always available to answer questions and will take council direction. The following slides present sample ballot language gathered from other municipalities as well as guidance provided by legal counsel. Council has the option to include specific intended uses for the use tax within the ballot language or to present the tax more generally Unlike statutorily restricted sales tax, the use tax revenues are not permanently dedicated by statute. As a result, while ballot language may express intended purposes, future city councils retain the authority to allocate use tax revenues differently. Staff offers this as a point of consideration than a concern. The primary risk associated with specifying uses in ballot language is the potential for public objection should a future council choose to redirect funds to different priorities based on the community needs at that time. With that said, many cities indicate their approval was probably achieved by using ballot language inclusive of their intended use of the revenues. Alternatively, the city may choose to educate voters on how the use tax is intended to be used through public outreach and informational materials, without including specific commitments to the ballot language itself. There are cases that use tax measures are approved because voters do understand the intended purpose, even when those purposes are not formally embedded within the ballot language. So the next slide that comes up here, I'll give the mayor a second. He has some comments on this as soon as I finish. The city continues to leverage partnerships to support economic development and community growth. Over the past 3 years, staff has worked with our engineering consultants to evaluate development potential, partnered on the expansion of the Pleasant Hill Marketplace, and recognized the emphasis necessary on housing is a key component of our economic development efforts. Historically, these initiatives have contributed to the revenue growth that supports city operations. However, proposed and ongoing changes at the state level may significantly alter how those revenues are generated in the future. As a result, traditional economic development strategies may no longer produce the same level of ongoing revenue as they have in the past. In this environment, a use tax helps address existing revenue leakage created when taxable purchases occur online or outside of the city, while reducing the incentive imbalance between remote purchases and transactions with local businesses that support critical city services. Over the past several years, staff has been required to prepare budgets and plan for both current and future expenditures amid significantly uncertainty surrounding several vital city revenue sources due to ongoing and proposed state legislation. While this use tax analysis assumes the city's existing revenue structure remains intact, it is important to note that changes at the state level could alter that reality. In that scenario, the use tax would shift from a role of enhancing services to preserving them. In that context, the use tax could serve as a critical mechanism to maintain current operations and service levels should other revenues be reduced. With that is the end of my presentation. Again, I'm happy to answer questions. I'll go back and sit, but I just felt it was easier to go through it in front of you. Now we'll look to you all.
So I had asked staff to prepare this slide. This is really the only time I want to look at this slide. I hate fear mongering. I hate fear tactics. This is only a point of information as we make our decision. I don't think that this should be discussed at the campaigning for it or anything like that. Again, I dislike that type of campaigning. It is important to note that the things we talk about, what we could do with this money, are incumbent upon nothing changing in our revenues. There is already a senior property tax freeze. You can see the levels up there of what that decline in our revenue is. If Senate Bill 3 remains, if it's not challenged, the estimated reductions would be 40, then 85, then 800,000 in our revenues. If they eliminate personal property tax completely, which I know has been a big talking point at the state level, you're looking at reduction of 91,000, 34,000, 18,000 for parks, 18,000 public health, 167,000 debt service. Those are big numbers when you look at the totality of our revenues. My concern is taxes and a use tax is not popular. I understand that. I hate taxes as much as anybody else. The reality is this: you cut that money out of our revenues, that significantly decreases what we can do with the money we currently have. Use tax, if we were to get it, yes, there are some things we can do. That's good, but it could be a lifeline at that point. And if we wait to see if these things do come to fruition, and they may not, if they came to fruition, then that use tax would be important and we would be behind in trying to get that money later than doing it ahead of the game. Again, just put out there, this is potentials. Doesn't mean it will, may not hold water, may not happen. That's why I don't like to use it beyond what we're talking about tonight. I don't want to talk about that again, but I wanted you guys to see that. It is a potential. As we go forward with discussions, there will be no decisions tonight. We're going to have another discussion about this at the next council meeting. If we elect to do that, we have to decide at the next council meeting to get it on the ballot for April. I know it's not, for me, it's not the sexiness of the downtown and doing the cafe lights. That looks great. It's important. For me, my biggest concern is our streets. And I know we have mechanisms for that, but Tony, when average, I know it's wide between here and the north part, average in town, when were the streets first laid down?
Oh, that's a really tough question to answer.
80s, 90s, 70s?
Average, I'm gonna say you're just guessing, you're probably in the late 70s.
So people understand, even from the 1980s to now, cars on average are 1,000 pounds heavier than they were from when a lot of these roads were built. We all know that last mile deliveries or direct to consumer is all the rage. I'm sure you see lots of delivery vehicles going up and down your streets for Amazon, UPS, FedEx. I know around Christmas, UPS was using U-Hauls to increase their deliveries. In Missouri, retail sales, internet represent between 20 and 25% of sales for a 36% increase in delivery vehicles on our roads. I don't know where MoDOT gets the numbers, but they say that loaded tractor trailers, and I know 7's not ours, but they do, you come down Cedar, 22% of those exceed state law for weight. 81% of smaller delivery vehicles exceed their weight limits. And what that comes down to is, it's called the fourth power law, or the prevent damage rule. So basically what it's saying is an SUV delivery vehicle in the 1990s was 4,500 pounds. The EV ones that we see on the road today, by the way, EV cars, EV vehicles, they may look smaller. They're 20 to 30% heavier than gas-powered vehicles. So as an example, a Ford F-150 gas is at 4,500 pounds. The EV model is at 6,000 pounds. So what you have is that small incremental weight per axle on our streets is doing 8 times more damage. And I really think that in the future and moving forward, streets are going to become critical in how we maintain them. And I know Tony doesn't have it in his budget to take all the streets down to bedrock and start them over at a proposed weight, but that's the reality. Our streets were not built for the vehicles on them today. And I know that some people don't like that we have trash service included with your water bill. That was done many years ago because that reduced the number of trash trucks on our streets. There were 5 or more trash companies doing trash collection in our neighborhoods every day. So you would get like 4 or 5 trash trucks down your street picking up people's trash. The other side of that, for the business owners in the room, trash collection is the first thing people stop paying when they can't afford it. And where does that trash end up? In businesses' dumpsters. And by doing it that way, not only reduce the damage to streets, we reduce that headache for business owners as well, or trash just piling up on curbs. All that comes again back to, I think that streets, at least a component of any use tax, is, in my opinion, is going to have to include transportation. Because we know how 7 Highway gets when MoDOT doesn't fill their potholes. And I think our streets, I mean, we have streets that need work now, let alone all this increased traffic. And that's with the use tax, that's what we're capturing. The internet sales that we're not getting money for, but they're damaging our infrastructure. So I talked a lot. Not your guys' turn.
Well, I think we're kind of in a little bit of a conundrum. I mean, if we don't take care of our downtown, then we don't have anybody coming on our streets anyway. Nobody wants to come to Pleasant Hill if our downtown isn't taken care of. But we do have to take care of our streets, so somehow we've got to figure out how we maintain both. I don't have that answer. I just see it as, it's not just one or the other. It has to be a little bit of both. It's just my 2 cents.
So just in case people are just clearing that up, the use taxes, again, stuff you buy online out of state. That's what it says. So. Brenda?
I agree. I mean, everything you said is right. Like we've got to do something to offset it. Because I am guilty of the Amazon being at my house more than once a week. And when you look at how many people or how many trucks are going up and down the street, and every time they hit a bump, they're causing more damage. So we've got to think of something to do. And this sounds like it's not going to add any extra taxes. That's the thing, is that if you bought it in town, it would be the same as if you bought it online. So that it also will help our business owners. If you're selling something in your business and somebody buys it online for a little bit cheaper, if they have to pay the tax on that, they may make our businesses make a little bit more money. Hopefully that would be the way it works, but something to think about. My turn?
Yeah.
Okay. As far as what we would use the use tax if it got approved, I love the downtown improvements. I don't know if I'd want to use the use tax for that, for the fact of it being in the historic district. They might be able to get more grants and stuff like that to help with that kind of stuff. Especially with the Main Street program on their side also, they could also help with that. My vote would definitely be for sidewalks and the streets. Now, where they put the idea of where to put that map, which streets to do, I don't know why we decided that.
Oh, no, sorry. It's not these streets. We just wanted to take a
That's
picture
just a picture.
just to give you some context as far as
How much
it was. We just took an area in town that we knew that we could fit on a screenshot and
Perfect.
show you so there's some context. Because I'm one of those. You tell me what 2,000 feet is, I ain't got a freaking clue. But I can look at that and kind of get an idea of what
Get an
2,000.
idea.
So that has nothing to do with
Where.
what streets it would be or where. It was just to provide some context, a
Perfect.
visual.
Thank you. But I would also be with some sidewalks too, because I do walk around the neighborhood and just walking down to get to the trails. So my vote, if we do decide to do this, my vote would be for streets and sidewalks.
So I know as an example, one of the cities I looked at, and it's definitely not what we have to do, but like Columbia, they broke theirs down to like 50% in general fund, 25% went into transportation, and then they divvied the capital improvements in parks. That's kind of how they did it. I mean, we can divide that money up. Just understand that a couple years from now, council can change that, even though it's in the
Right.
it's in the ballot language.
So I know they can change it, they can change everything, even like the Parks and Rec, if we decide to hire the police officer, they can change that also.
It could be.
Future
Obviously,
council.
there are implications by doing that. We would look at this as that ongoing revenue source. So therefore, if you have taken on new employees, and you're funding it through, the use tax, if you choose to use the use tax revenue elsewhere without some sort of revenue source, then you are looking at potentially, reducing your staff size. So whether it's through layoffs or, somebody leaves and you just don't backfill the position. That is a component of it. Again, that I'm going to say is risky. Typically, I would assume that, again, once, unless the need changes, that need for additional, the operating expenses that we've presented tonight, I don't see that those needs are going to be reduced any at all. So again, if a future council decides that they want to use the use tax differently, you'd either have to identify a different funding source or, again, potentially be subject to reducing your staff levels. And so I guess I'll say this maybe just to help you all a little bit as you're thinking. Obviously, like on the ballot language options, Kylie, can you put the first slide, up there. So obviously, like option 2 is, when I was doing my research, was probably one of the most common languages from the cities that I received input back from. And just as I put in the brackets at the bottom, you can be generic or as specific as you want. Again, there's pros and cons with it. At the end of the day, regardless, because it is not a tax that is governed statutorily, simply, I'll give an example, like a transportation sales tax, which we have. Statutorily, it says what those specifically can be used for. That's what, in essence, takes that, I'm going to use the word power, from you all as a city council or future city councils from changing that, because it's statutorily controlled. The use tax is not like that. So it truly becomes a component of, of community trust. And, that becomes, so I guess I don't want to make yourselves go through so much of like, it has to be this or it has to be that. At the end of the day also, I don't know that you have to decide tonight unless or at the next meeting of exactly how you want to spend it. Because again, it can change. We can work together to identify, go beyond what we presented to you all this evening. And you can work with your constituents again, and you can listen to them. The good news is we have elections every single year. So if you get a future council that is not honorable by, what they say they're going to spend it on, they can be replaced. That's the beauty of the democracy that we live in, is that those people can be, if they're not, serving their constituents to the best of their ability, that can change. So with that being said, I think it's important, again, from what I've learned from other cities, I think it holds weight in the voters feeling comfortable with it. I also think there's an obligation, if you all choose to move forward with it or not, on you all as well as staff, that we truly answer questions to the best of our ability to make our voters feel comfortable. I feel like, when we approved the Prop P, we did, we have honored our word. You all have prioritized, the projects that we were going to do, and truly, staff's, the first recommendation that we had to you all was just that. We want to work hard to maintain these parks. We're proud of them. We think you all are proud of them. We want the community to be proud. But again, that just goes back to then, in what we tell people and then our actions. And so again, to have that weight on you right now that I have to decide right now on January the 12th, give yourself a little bit of grace. I don't think that has to be. We just wanted to present you all with as much information as you possibly can to make some informed decisions or have those to be able in the next, and I say the next 2 weeks, guys, there's other elections. It doesn't have to be this April. If you feel like more time is needed, we can. You just have all of the information in front of you. The mayor's component of, potential some reductions that we have. Sometimes that's part of our everyday life. That's what we have to do, is to find ways to make it work. But at the end of the day, maybe right now is not the right time, and we get that. But we as a staff felt like we have an obligation. We talked to you guys about these things. We talked to the community when we did the Prop P in April of 2024. And again, none of those issues that we brought up, which made us run Prop 4 or P4 along with 1, 2, and 3 have changed. If anything, they've increased because, again, we have nice new parks that we want to take care of. But at the end of the day, you guys have to make a decision of what you feel is best right now and hopefully set the city up for success, obviously, in the future. Still understanding that, again, we live in a democracy and that could change, and we will adjust accordingly. But, yes, can I sit here and tell you, do I ever want to have to lay off people? No. But that would be up to the elected body at that time. But it's beneficial as far as what we can see what other cities are doing with their use tax. And to Pat's comment about I want to do it all. The number we gave you was the number provided to us through our resources. We can tell you, I can feel confident in telling you, and Amy maybe in her conversations with peers in other cities, everything we've heard from, I say everything. Significantly, what we hear from other cities is once they've passed a use tax, the estimates that were provided to them through the same resources, DOR, their county, those estimates were very conservative. They typically were seeing what revenues were being brought in significantly higher than what was anticipated. So potentially we find ourselves in that situation where we can make an impact on our streets. And I agree with the mayor as far as a use tax. It's helping, it's coming in off of those deliveries that are being made, so we really need to pour back into our streets. But to Pat's, to Pat's comment about downtown, maybe, and again, these are just two options, guys, that we have, in our conversations over, previous years in master planning, during the comp plan, we just had to pull out, we couldn't come up with every single option. Maybe there's something out there that we didn't think of that you guys have on the horizon, and we can work those numbers. But in the meantime, obviously for tonight's, performance, if you want to call it, or tonight's presentation, we had to come up with it. We wanted to present you some options, and that's what we focused on. But again, revenues come in higher, we don't find ourselves, with other revenue sources decreasing, then, the sky's the limit. And, then what awesomeness that, future councils have to continue to make Pleasant Hill grow and be awesome and improve our services, so.
Well, I think that there's also some beauty to that flexibility with it, especially if you can maybe fan it out, find some balance in it. Is, we may get 10 years down the road and I don't want to say put 100% into roads, because then you get 5-10 years down the road and Tony's just tearing up streets to tear up streets because there's too much money. Yeah, like that never
I've
happened.
never found a city like that.
Yeah.
We do.
Good to think that way, though. That gives you the flexibility that, hey, it's still in transportation. Now we can focus on this, or we can do that. Some towards public safety. For us, that's going to be law enforcement, but that gives us that flexibility as well. So I think that's important. All right.
You gave us a lot to think about.
Yeah. And please do. Obviously, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. We will be happy to answer to the best of our ability.
All right. I will open up the floor to the public to talk about use tax.
Can Can we go back to that slide that had the picture of downtown and all that on it? We called that an infrastructure improvement, but I'm curious why, if that's all infrastructure, wasn't that brought up during the Prop P discussions 2 years ago when we could have allocated money for this, gone with a smaller park system that had less maintenance or cost required with it, and maybe offset some of that huge park expense that you kind of casually mentioned, but then sidestep around when stuff like this comes up?
Because the public wanted better parks, and so we answered what the public wanted.
How did you determine that?
Through all those public meetings we had, and through the surveys we got back, and through all of the groups that we interviewed, and the huge process we had. All of that was part of that, John.
I never saw a survey.
I'm sorry you didn't get one, but we had plenty of these things, and this is what people wanted. They wanted parks. They wanted their kids to play on nicer complexes. They wanted to take their kids to the park system and have nicer parks.
Okay.
They wanted improvements at city lakes. It's what the community wanted.
Okay. So I had asked you during Prop P discussions what you would do if the use tax did not pass. And you had said we just have to hope that it passes.
Yep.
What will you do if it doesn't pass this time?
Then it will hit the ballot again.
Okay. Just a general question for Tony department. What kind of percentages and increase of budget have we seen in that over the last decade? Like how much are those costs increasing over time? And how much are we reallocating for that?
I would point you towards the budget that is for all the years that is on there if you want to see those numbers directly.
Okay.
So that's where I would point you to.
Okay. Well, my point in asking that is, have you guys researched this yourself?
Yes.
Because what I see here is a 12-year-old that's found a $50 bill and they can't figure out what to spend it on. And I agree with you. The streets should be a priority. But then we're talking about the parks. Now we're talking about ornate streetlights. And I have a hard time having any faith at all that this money is going to get spent on anything that actually impacts the city as a whole when you dance around on what you want this big ask for, but then you can't focus on where it's going to go. So for me personally, if you put an earmark on it and said it's going to go to this, if Tony maxes out his budget in 10 years, great. That's kudos to you guys and anyone that follows you. I highly doubt that'll happen. But when you dance around and, our parks don't have money for maintenance, that's how they got so bad in the first place. Well, that wasn't addressed when you sold us the Prop P. Prop P was said, this is a no tax increase bond. This is a tax increase for people that buy online.
Well, we had plenty of discussions. I spoke to many people about the importance of maintaining the parks. That was a
But you didn't have a
big part
plan
of it.
for it, is my point.
Yeah, we have a plan. We do it. Jeff and his guys, every year we have meetings on, all right, what do we need to do?
But you didn't have a plan for the funding, is my point.
Yeah, we did.
Yet you haven't had shortfalls in park maintenance, then why were the parks so bad that we had to spend so much money to do them?
John, you make it sound like there's not a plan. There is. There are plans and we do things. John, we can't go through every nickel and dime with you on how we do things. There are so many meetings. You think that you come up here and you talk, you want to know how many minutes, how many hours people spend on this or that. John, these people spend 8 hours a day here working on how are we going to do, what is the best way to maintain parks? How can we do
spend 8 hours a
revenue
day
stream?
here is a very, very dangerous statement, Mayor King, and you know that. My point is, pocket change, adds up. And you're telling us you're broke and you need this money. You're standing there with the cup out, asking for the pocket change, when we just gave you all the paper money.
No, we're not asking for a handout, John. We're asking to preserve this city and its services.
I didn't say you were looking for a handout.
You
I
just said
we gave
you
the paper money.
just did say.
But now you're asking for more.
You've also said that we've just gone around in circles and can't decide where we're spending the money. We're having open, honest, intelligent discussions.
And my point
That
is,
doesn't, I'm talking,
No, John.
it doesn't mean
John,
that
your 3
we,
minutes is up anyway.
that we don't know what we're spending the money on. We're trying to make an informed decision.
And that's how this process works.
okay,
An informed decision, not one individual's opinion, but many individuals' opinions.
I'm not the only person that's gonna speak on that.
I know. Anyone else? Wow.
My name is Jessica Elliott. I'm at 217 North Campbell. And I do appreciate that you would like streets to be a focus. I would personally very much like streets to be a focus if this was to go on the ballot and if it were to pass. They had mentioned in the presentation that there's $630,000 or how much? $63,000? Which was it for the transportation fund? For street improvements?
For what? Like, we had a lot of
Road
numbers up there.
improvements, yeah.
Which,
It was on one of the slides,
okay.
the one with road improvements, not that one.
The
The one that we're already
331,000.
spending, what we already allocate.
Oh, it wasn't in a slide, it was part of the presentation.
I was like, I don't remember that number.
600 and, what was in our, or maybe it was on the slide. $635,000.
Yeah, so my concern with that would be, and with this use tax going forward to adding money to the streets, is that $630,000, this past year, we improved 3 streets on the street overlay. While downtown streets, if we were to put money into downtown, but the streets that to get there are crumbling. Pine and Armstrong, and I've talked about it before in these meetings, is crumbling. People cannot walk. We can't even fix our own sidewalks because there's no curbs. There's no place for the water to go. So we can't even do that. So I would very much, if this were to go, I would like to earmark it and make sure that it's going to street improvements, infrastructure improvements that are necessary before we decorate other parts of town.
That I get. Thank you. Anyone else? All right.
I have something.
All right.
Nikki, and I can probably look this up myself. Can we get the wording of the use tax in 2 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
Most of the wording for it is that, what is it, chapter 144, title 10? Isn't that what most of the wording is anyway?
Typically.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I can get that for you. If I can't get it real quick, I can send it out to you guys. But
I'm sure I can find it too. I just.
Yeah, I think that statute is mostly how you put in checking yes, checking no, because so many cities had it confusing. All right. Go ahead.
Kathy Gilbert, 608 North Taylor, and yes, I'm an Amazon shopper.
Aren't we all?
I just put in a $159 order, and I just did the math, and it was 5% that would be collected for taxes. So that is way less than what, if I went to the Dollar General and bought something that I would pay for.
5.85, I believe, is the number you
This one just came in at 5, but
Yeah.
just FYI, I think it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
My opinion.
I will say this for everybody in the room. If you buy something online and it collects city sales tax, you got to contact the state. That happens every once in a while. Or a vendor out there just collects it and it goes to the state. It doesn't come here. It goes to the state. And so, yes, John?
I just had a question. And just to be clear, this is only within city limits, right?
Yes.
Okay.
This would be the city limits. And again, I always like to stress it. Internet sales to out-of-state vendors.
Okay.
So
another purchase, if you buy something from Holden, it's not going to have a supply.
no, because you're going to pay state sales tax on that.
Okay.
I did say that correctly, right?
Yeah, it's out of state then.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
So in April of 2024, Prop 4 says, shall the city of Pleasant Hill impose a local use tax at the same rate as the total local sales tax rate, provided that if the local sales tax rate is reduced or raised by voter approval, the local use tax rate shall also be reduced or raised by the same action. So similar to what our option, excuse me. So basically the same thing as option 2.
Option 2.
So would we be doing a survey or anything to get more public
We can.
comment? I mean, I don't know how extensive that is to do that. Is that easy to do? I'm looking at you, Kyle. Sorry.
I guess, we can do a simple, we could do like a simple, what I'm gonna call like a survey monkey. There's tools out there to do them. Obviously, they're not statistically valid in a sense because it can't limit. To do a statistically valid survey to send something out, we absolutely can do that. There's an expense to it, which is perfectly fine. And we probably can't make this deadline, which again, as I stated, there's future elections. So if you all chose to, place it on a different election cycle. But there are ways that, again, we can, if you guys decide that we want some additional engagement, that we can absolutely do that.
Just so we're clear, the deadline is the Tuesday after our next meeting.
Correct. We have to have the ballot certified for the April 7th, 2026 election by 4:30 on Tuesday, January the 27th.
So we would need to do that then, before the language. Yeah, go ahead.
It is very short on time, but I'm just wondering if they could throw together a town hall within the next week or put together some things on social media, somehow reach out,
Probably
maybe a
would do social
robocall.
media at this point.
Yeah, something, but just saying a town hall wouldn't cost us. We own the memorial building, so there wouldn't be a cost to that.
John?
2 questions. How much would it cost, like, to mail something to every resident? I'm just curious what that kind of expense that is for the city.
It's not the expense I'm worried about. I don't know how timely that would be to
Okay.
mail.
That's what I was thinking.
I was trying to say that very nicely.
Well, that was another reason why I was saying maybe throw together a town hall and a robocall. Say, hey, we're gonna do this. We want your input. Just something, I don't know. I understand social media is probably your quickest, but it's not gonna reach everyone.
It's true.
And then I was a little confused on the ballot language. Is there 2 different ballots? One to set the rate at the same as the current sales tax and one to actually do it? Or is that, are they,
One question.
It would be one question on the ballot.
okay, is the use tax rate set forever and ever as the same as the city sales
Yes,
tax?
if it goes up or reduces, it mirrors that, unless you repeal it.
Okay, so there would have to be a vote and everything in order to change that moving forward.
No, if there would have to be a vote to increase sales tax in the city. The use tax follows that.
Right.
Or if we did a vote to reduce it, you would have to have a vote on a ballot if we went to reduce sales tax as well, and it would follow with it.
But you couldn't change the use tax rate by itself.
No,
Ever.
no.
Okay,
You can't increase it to more or less. It follows your sales tax.
okay.
It literally is just an extension of the current tax.
Okay.
And
I
it
would
comes
like
in
to apologize for being heated.
No,
with
it's
you.
okay.
I don't mean to be heated about it. I'm actually on the fence about the issue. I'm just confused based on your approach. I'm just trying to say that I think Jesse said it a lot better than I did, but I just want to know where it's going to go and have more faith that it's going to be earmarked for certain things instead of just being a slush fund in the future for whatever, and then we end up with things that aren't maintained when they should have been and things like that.
I think it has to, we didn't do it last, I think it has to have, this is what the money's gonna go for.
Okay.
I think that's important, because you're right, people wanna know where their tax money goes. And I think that's important.
And
So-
it's important that people have faith in this city hall about that.
It is as well. All
Mayor,
right,
I just want to add, just so that we make sure we're all on the same page and transparent. While you can earmark it within the ballot language, it does not statutorily tie the hands of a future council.
Correct.
Correct.
So therefore, if again, it gets, say, we're gonna spend it, or this council puts in the ballot language that, and I'll go back to just option 2, and it's somewhat generic, for the purpose of capital improvements, public safety, infrastructure improvements, and park operations. Okay, you guys can say that, and it'll be in the ballot language. 10 years from now, we have a council, and we don't know what the needs might be of the community at that time, and they want to change it. Obviously, I think human nature, they'll receive objection or receive heat, like, well, you said in the ballot language. They have every right. That's where I go back to. It's very important that, the council, and that's why, we'll see it starting next week, strongly take part in, our budget discussions and our work sessions, because it truly is the elected body to prioritize how that is spent. So I just want to make sure that, while we'll sit here, and I agree, and I've heard from other cities that I think it is best that we allocate it to some mechanism within the ballot language, and in essence, to make sure we're, maybe relieving some heat off of maybe a future council. It does not statutorily tie them to those same obligations that you all set forth in this ballot language. So I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
Well, I would just like to add that to John's statement that he made a minute ago was, I think there's a lot of people out there that have confusion on how the use tax works. So I would really encourage us, and going with what Jessica said, about maybe pulling together a town hall and blasting it out on social media. If you want to learn more about it, if you want to get a full understanding of it, come and have a workshop, for a lack of a better term.
Can we do and how? Yeah, let's talk about
Jackie did a roll call and she's here.
I mean, people aren't going to vote for it if they don't have an understanding of what it does.
Let's have that discussion. I think there's something we can do with that, maybe. It's just short time. All right. Do I have a motion? Is it just legal for closed session?
Yes.
Okay. I need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to RSMO 610-0211, legal actions, litigation, and attorney-client communication.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session for RSMO 610-0211 for legal actions, litigation, and attorney-client communications.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Niner,
Yes.
Councilman Newberry,
Yes.
Councilman Doomer.
Yes.
I forgot one thing. Y'all haven't met her yet. This is Kristen. She'll be starting tomorrow as the city administrator in office, so her and I have already been working.